You guys liked my working at Cartoon Network video. I got a lot of great response on that, and I really appreciate it. Thank you so much, because I used to work at Cartoon Network back in the day when it first started. Should have been called Hartman Network, but we'll get into that later. Anyway, so I thought I would extend or continue the Cartoon Network love and do some of your favorite Cartoon Network characters and some of mine aged up 10 years later. Check it out. Okay, first up is one of my favorite cartoons that I actually used to work on when I was at Cartoon Network back in the day. Dexters Laboratory! It was one of my favorite cartoons. Didi, you must get out of my laboratory! Really funny show, created by the amazing Genndy Tartakovsky. Tartakovsky? I used to call him Tartakovsky. Anyway, Genndy Tartakovsky, great guy. I used to love working with him, and he's done The Amazing Samurai Jack and some other super cool cartoons. But I absolutely love Dexters Lab, and I thought I would age Dexter up a little bit. Let's check out what he would turn into. All right, now for Dexter's Lab, I mean, this is kind of cool for me to do because I actually used to work on this show when I was at Hanna-Barbera, when it became Cartoon Network. So just having Dexter grow up is really, really cool. And I think by this time, Dexter is like Elon Musk. I mean, I think he's got like just tons of amazing equipment. You know, I think he's actually starting to launch his own rockets into space, which we already know he has done, but now he's actually doing it publicly. But I think he might employ some of this technology directly toward his sister Didi, who still hasn't left the house. I mean, she's grown up now too, but I think she's still living at home. She's really, really getting on Dexter's nerves at this point. So Dexter's just had enough. So now he's putting all of his energies, I mean, every single bit of energy, into getting rid of his sister in a good way. You know, he's not going to do any permanent harm to her, you know, but he's just going to launch her into space like Elon Musk did when he launched the Falcon Heavy rocket. He's going to launch a red sports car into space with his sister Didi in it. So this is Dexter and Didi in Dexter's Lab 10 years later. Okay, Dexter's Laboratory. Didi, what? I just love doing the voice. Okay, next up is a character who's blue. He's a cat. His sister's a rabbit. Rabbit? Yeah, sister's a rabbit. And his adopted brother's a fish. I'm talking about Gumball Watterson from the amazing world of Gumball. What happens to him 10 years later? Let's check it out. All right, so for Gumball, I really love the look of this show. I love the feel of this show. And I figured when Gumball grows up, because he's a cat, you know, he would become a lion. That's logical, right? And then also, I think Darwin, the fish, he'd stay a fish, an aquatic creature, but he would, of course, evolve into a shark. So this is Gumball and Darwin. They've grown up 10 years later. Go, Gumball. His world's amazing. 10 years later. Okay, there's another Cartoon Network show that's really cool. It's got some crystal gems in it. It's got garnet, amethyst, and pearl, and Steven! Steven Universe, 10 years later. What in the heck is going to happen to this guy? Here we go. Okay, Steven Universe. Very popular show. Actually, this is one of those shows that I am very, I guess I don't want to use the word jealous, but I'm like, man, this is a very cool idea. You know, a kid who's the younger brother of three super-powered girls. He has their power too, but he's not really that good at using it yet he's still very important to the story. I mean, very cool idea. I love the name of the show, and I really thought this show really called for, if we're going to age this character up and these characters up, they really called for like a Jack Kirby, sort of a Thor, old school 1960s look. I really tried to capture a Jack Kirby feel to this thing. You know, the big wide mouth, the big wide fingers, the heavy inks. I probably could have inked it a little more heavily. I even put the Infinity Gauntlet on Steven because, you know he's got something to do with just the way the universe was created or the way the universe turns out. So, you know, and I think he would be very Thanos in his abilities by this point. So, you know, this is the Steven Universe and the gems 10 years later. Okay, Steven Universe, he's awesome. Very interesting what happens to him 10 years later. Next up is a team of heroes that people kind of love to hate. Do you love them? Do you hate them? They're the Teen Titans, and they go. Teen Titans Go 10 years later. Check it out. Teen Titans Go. Now, I'm a huge fan of Teen Titans, always have been. I mean, they were a big comic book back in the early 70s, and then they got revamped in the 80s by the amazing George Perez and Marv Wolfman of DC. And then when DC made them into a cartoon in the mid-2000s, I was excited about that. But then they made Teen Titans Go, and people weren't too crazy about that because they kind of just stopped the original series and never picked it up. So anyway, point is, I thought I would take the Teen Titans Go characters and sort of do them in the style of the original Teen Titans cartoon. You guys following me on this so far? I know it's kind of confusing. But anyway, I love drawing superheroes, as you know. I love drawing these particular superheroes too. And I just kind of aged them up 10 years later. I think, they're just still teenagers sitting around the house, not doing much of anything with their superpowers. Of course, Beast Boy's playing Lego Batman video game. Robin has had a few too many pizzas. Starfire, I almost said Star-Lord. Starfire is going to be texting endlessly because she's now an older teenager. And, I just think that, Raven just floats around looking menacing and not really doing much of anything but eating pizza and disapproving of everything, especially your attitude. We all know we have a bad attitude around Raven, right? So, hey, Raven, maybe your dad's not such a nice guy. Anyway, this is my version of Teen Titans Go 10 years later. All right, Teen Titans Go. Wow. Okay, next up are the characters who live in the land of Ooh. That's right, I'm talking about Finn and Jake from Adventure Time. The apocalypse is coming. What happens 10 years later? Check it out. Okay, Adventure Time. Now, we couldn't do a Cartoon Network 10 years later, or Cartoon Network anything without including Adventure Time, the show that seems to have taken the world by storm just because of its amazing style and its incredible humor. Really, really great show. I think it's super funny. Hats off to Penn Ward, who thinks completely differently than I do. I never could think of a show like this, but it's great. But anyway, here's Finn and Jake. I think 10 years later, there's already been an apocalypse on Adventure Time. So this is like a post-apocalypse apocalypse. I wanted to make this kind of a Mad Max Road Warrior sort of a thing where, Finn has a robotic arm now because just, something bad's happened in the future, and Jake has a gun on his back, and I just think, the Ice King has his own vehicle chasing Finn and Jake through the desert, and this is Adventure Time 10 years later, the apocalypse. All right, Finn and Jake 10 years later. Man, oh man, look what happens to them. I'm telling you, it's very interesting. Cartoon Network characters 10 years later. One last one coming up, one that's very near and dear to my heart. I worked on this show many years ago, and I love this guy. As a matter of fact, I love him a little bit too much, baby. Yeah, that's right, it's Johnny Bravo. 10 years later, what happens to his hair? Let's see. All right, so for Johnny Bravo, baby, this is also another show I used to work on at Cartoon Network. Love doing this show. I had such a great time. I love the character of Johnny Bravo, and voiced by the mighty and talented Jeff Bennett, of course. Just such a great character. And, Johnny, though, Johnny, I don't think really ever takes care of himself. I think he just likes to look at himself in the mirror, and I think he just thinks he has it going on no matter what age he is. I think, but this is, for Johnny 10 years later, I think, his body starts going a little bit. I think he's eating a little bit too many peanut butter banana sandwiches. He's got the male pattern baldness happening, but to him he looks great because now I got two mop tops full of hair, Mama. I got two giant heads of hair instead of one. Yeah. So this is Johnny Bravo riding his mower, just out there having a cold beverage. 10 years later. All right, baby, Johnny Bravo. Hey, Mama. Oh, hurts the throat. Cartoon Network characters 10 years later. Which was your favorite and which one didn't I do? Which Cartoon Network character do you guys want to see me do 10 years later, perhaps in another video? Perhaps? Should it be Samurai Jack? Should it be the Powerpuff Girls? We Bear Bears? Let me know down in the comment section below. As always, don't forget to subscribe. All right, guys, don't forget, art gives you power. Use it wisely.